G'day, what's up Dons? It's GA Wide Wednesdays. It's definitely been a huge week when it comes to Rockstar news. With Trailer 3 announced, a trailer for that announcement, One Take Jason Schreier interviewed Take-Two's Strauss Zelnick after one of Take-Two's most anticipated investor calls, and an official response from an Australian government MP regarding Rockstar's recent ban on gambling in Red Dead and Grand Theft Auto Online. As we approach a new dawn for Rockstar Games, they're now pushing boundaries with where they plan to advertise their games. Reports and rumours suggest we could be getting a 20-minute extended look at GTA 6 August 27th. If this is the case, we could be looking at a gameplay reveal more reminiscent of Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, the introduction. And I actually have something here to show you guys. This is actually the gameplay movie that Rockstar made for GTA San Andreas when they released it back in the 2000s. And this was made in the Renderware engine, and it's obviously showcasing an earlier version of Rockstar Editor. Quite primitive, but I thought this last little minute you guys would find interesting.
Whose side you on? His or mine?
Yours, Frank, yours!
Then be a fucking man. You cap him, or I cap you.
Come on, do it! Pull the trigger!
And this leads right into the Green Saber, which is obviously quite pivotal to the story in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, where obviously spoilers here, the people that assassinated CJ's mum, with Sweet responding right now in the Green Saber.
CJ, it's your brother.
Okay, what you want?
I think you better come home. It's about Mama. She's dead, bro.
So, and actually, if I was to hazard a bet, I actually reckon that this is most likely what we're going to get on August 27th. There's been multiple reports, which I'm going on a note later, of Strauss and other people around Rockstar saying that this will be not something that's just a trailer, be something more pivotal. But obviously time will tell. But given that they've made things like this in the past, I don't doubt that we could see more of an extended movie, maybe an episode, a prologue into what GTA 6 could entail. There's been a plethora of reaction to the trailer's 6-hour Netflix exclusivity window, but personally, I think it's a bit of a non-issue. I'm interested though, what you think. Do you think Rockstar's extended look will be a gameplay reveal, or something a bit different? Do you care about the exclusivity window, or not at all? The day after this somewhat surprising trailer drop, as most of the community thought something was coming, Take-Two had an investor call, which I doubt is news to most of you. While we had a brief look on stream, corporate speak is better read than dryly listened to, so I waited for the transcript, and here's the most interesting points, and most importantly, questions. So for the points, net bookings of 1.39 billion beat the high end of guidance and came in about 3.3% above the midpoint. NBA 2K and Grand Theft Auto both delivered stronger than expected results. Full year fiscal 2027 guidance was reaffirmed, including net bookings of $8 billion to $8.2 billion. Management said GTA 6 pre-orders have been exceptional and unprecedented. The company expects operating cash flow to exceed $1 billion and to reach a net cash position by fiscal year end. So they're expecting to make a whole lot of money, and they don't want to get too confident, but it sounds like they've been very, very, very confident, which is usually strange. We're going to listen to an interview in a short minute. It goes on to talk about how the stock market is mostly just expectations, and they want to set the expectations in a place where people aren't going to be disappointed when something comes out, and hopefully surprised so the price actually rises. Or the best case scenario is everyone just stays happy. It's what everyone expected, and then the price keeps doing what it's doing, and not dropping. And I've got I think it's only 3 interesting questions here that I've taken out of the entire investor call, which I thought would be nice to just quote and read over. The first being by Andrew Maroc, analyst from Raymond James. If you could give us a little bit more color on the thinking that went into the decision to go with Netflix for the timed exclusivity, rather than just the traditional route for releasing it on a free platform like YouTube or through Rockstar Games socials. Strauss Zelnick, this is the first of its kind partnership with Netflix. They're a great marketing partner for us and distribution partner, as you know. We also work with virtually every social media outlet on Earth. This is part of Rockstar Games' marketing strategy. We're excited for everyone to see an extended look of Grand Theft Auto 6. I'm not prepared to tell you how it's going to go, but I feel really good about it. Of course, 6 hours after the initial launch on Netflix, it'll be available on Rockstar Games' channel on YouTube, and I think ultimately many other outlets. So he seems pretty confident with how it's going to go. He wants to sort of glaze over the fact that it's there separated, but like I said, I actually think it's a bit of a non-issue. Eric Handler, analyst from Roth Capital. Strauss, wonder if you could give us a little bit of background on the decision to go with Netflix for the extended trailer launch. Did they approach you? Did you approach them? I assume for exclusivity, they probably paid a little bit of premium to get that. Strauss Zelnick, Netflix is a close partner of the company, and we have a tight relationship up and down the line. We're always in conversations about things that we can do together. This is a groundbreaking partnership that Rockstar arranged with our friends at Netflix. We're really excited about how it's going to come about. I wouldn't normally give detail on the sort of nature of the back and forth terms of the arrangement. Matthew Cost, analyst at Morgan Stanley. If you could comment on Sony's decision to get rid of physical disc sales for new games in the beginning of 2028, will that have material impact on your gross margins, or will you continue to sell box download codes at a similar gross margin, presumably at a similar scale going forward? Strauss Zelnick, I'm not going to comment on Sony's own decision, but in terms of our own decision, look, our business is well over 90% digitally distributed as is. It's already a digital business. In certain instances, especially if it's a big game, discs, and I note I said discs, obviously on the noting on the pluralization of discs, don't really make sense for the consumer. Also, most instances, you have to register online to play anyhow. If you're already connected, who cares if you download digitally? If it's all the same, and if it's much more convenient, that's where the world is going, in our opinion, and I think Sony understands that. We certainly understand that. Doesn't mean that we won't have physical editions now and then, I'm sure we will, in the same way that there's still vinyl in the recorded music business. In other instances, it just won't make sense. Now, these are just a couple of the questions I found most interesting. As always, you can find the source for this and everything else in the description. For those following the numbers, Take-Two's stock price nearly reached their monthly low, hitting $230 USD on Thursday, and since their Netflix reveal trailer and investor call, peaked and stayed around $250 USD. Jazzberry, locking the trailer behind a paywall is setting a standard for games that I don't really agree with. Games should ultimately be accessible, let alone the trailers for games. Yeah, that would definitely be the case, I think, if it was only on Netflix. And if it is something similar to that 20-minute gameplay reveal that they did for the GTA San Andreas, which was mostly a prologue story, they're kind of trying to capture a different audience, as well as the fact they're trying to set a different kind of precedent with this, right? Like, it'd be cool to see that instead of the next Cyberpunk game, we got like Edge Runners episode, which was like directly tied in. Imagine instead of the next League of Legends game, we got their TV show, which I can't remember now, but that was directly tied into the game, and it was made in the game's engine, which obviously doesn't really work for League of Legends, but it could definitely work for other games that do make stuff, right? Like Cyberpunk is a 3D game very similar to Rockstar, and they very well can make an editor very similar to Rockstar and then advertise their games that way. So to have them be exclusive on a place where I guess most of the world are watching their movies and shows does make sense. It establishes that it's not a trailer. I don't think it is a trailer, and it's not meant to be one. It's something else. A trusted industry insider, Jason Schreier, reported on the investor call and scored himself a private interview with Strauss Zelnick. Something notable for Jason and myself was the makeup of the profits that Take-Two was receiving.
So I want to share one figure that I think is interesting. So in fiscal year 2026, their last fiscal year, they generated $6.7 billion in total revenue. Of that number, $5.2 billion was recurrent customer spending, and $1.4 billion was full game and other sales. In other words, about 22% of their revenue coming in for the most recent fiscal year was from actually selling games, selling copies of their video games, whereas the other 78%, $5.2 billion, is coming from people spending money within their games, not to buy their games, but spending money on microtransactions in 2K and GTA and the mobile games. So very different business model than the way the video game industry looked 10, 15 years ago when you just made a game, you put it in a box, and then you sold it. So just a fun little fact. And it's interesting to know that right now, Take-Two is only talking about GTA 6 in terms of the single player portion, which will not presumably have recurring revenue. I don't think they're putting microtransactions in the single player game, and not GTA Online. They have not talked at all, and they are not planning to talk anytime soon about what the new GTA Online will look like and what that recurring spend will look like, which reportedly, according to some leaked numbers, the current version of GTA Online, the one that is associated with Grand Theft Auto 5, brings in about $500 million per year. $500 million per year, 13 years after it launched, which is just an unfathomable amount of money. So this next one, all bets are off.
$500 million a year, $500 million a year they're making, which is absolutely astounding. And that's just off of shark cards alone in GTA Online. Crazy numbers. And it's interesting they're not even talking about Grand Theft Auto 6 Online yet, because they're still very faithful in Grand Theft Auto's online and Grand Theft Auto 5, right, to start with. And then they just know that there's no other microtransactions they can really make up with GTA 6 unless they release DLC, which I kind of don't think's on the horizon. I don't think anyone's even expecting them to release DLC, given how there was no DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5 and there wasn't any, I don't believe, for Red Dead Redemption 2. I could be wrong on that one though. Something else I found interesting was in regards to there being no hard numbers for pre-orders on Grand Theft Auto 6. And this is something that Jason also commented on.
Hey, okay, well, you're not going to tell us the numbers, but will you tell us, did they beat your internal forecasts? He said they're much higher than their internal forecasts. They vastly beat them. So I said to him, well, why can't you just share the numbers? And he said something interesting, which is he said that, like, I'm going to read a quote from him, which is, quote, and this is all in a Bloomberg story that you can read. I'll put that in the show notes. He said, quote, we can't tell whether they mean anything. It could be a situation where it's just demand pulled forward because of enthusiasm, but no real change in the actual number. He said, we never want to mislead people. We've said they're exceptional. They're really great. But at the same time, I've reminded people that we simply don't know the demand curve because it's just never happened before. And he went on to say that the raw numbers could be misleading. I asked him to clarify that a little bit because I wasn't 100% following what he was saying. And he essentially said that the point that he's making is that this demand for pre-orders might not reflect that sales are going to be some exponentially higher number than they expected, but it might just reflect that demand is being pulled forward. In other words, the people who would have bought the game on day one or after launch are just pre-ordering it instead of buying it then. So if they expected to sell, I don't know, 30 million copies on that first week, and they have however many pre-orders now, this is me making up a number for the sake of example, but let's say they have 10 million pre-orders now, and they expected 30 million. So that could mean a number of things. It could mean that their expectations were way too low and they're actually going to sell 100 million on day one, or it could mean that 10 million is just part of that 30 million that they had forecast, and that like the demand was just kind of like ahead of time because there's so much demand that people just a lot more people pre-ordered than expected, and they would have bought the game on day one anyway, which I thought was interesting. And I thought that was actually a kind of a good reason for not sharing the raw numbers. I suppose he doesn't want to send investors into a frothy hype before the numbers are actually revealed, because then if their expectations are too high, then remember what I said earlier about like Wall Street being all about expectations versus results. If their expectations are too high for your launch day, then even a crazy number of sales, if it doesn't hit those expectations, could be bad news for Take-Two stock. And Take-Two pricing right now, if you look at the stock price, right now it has baked into it a certain number of sales. There's a certain threshold, a certain bar that investors are expecting GTA 6 to hit. The question is whether it will surpass that bar, meet that bar, or be lower than that bar. That's the big question that everybody is asking, and that what everybody's going to look at when November 19th comes around, and more importantly from an investor point of view and a sales point of view, if and when they reveal the sales figures, what those numbers actually look like. So it makes sense that they're not sharing pre-order data.
Yeah, right. So also pretty interesting. It's great that we have an insight into Strauss-Zelnick through someone like Jason Schreier, because he seems to have gotten some pretty honest answers from the bloke, and some pretty interesting stuff. It's stuff that's pretty important, I think, that we all definitely care about. Lastly, In reference to the Netflix exclusive and Take-Two's decision behind it, Jason got some very illuminating answers from Strauss and himself had some quite interesting final thoughts, which I think a large subset of the community may be missing.
Have happened, but first I want to share a couple more things from Strauss Zelnick, which is I asked him, I said, okay, look, is there, I know you don't want to talk about the terms, but like, is there a benefit to Take-Two and Rockstar to being on Netflix beyond whatever financial terms you guys are getting? Like, is there an audience you're reaching there that might not otherwise be looking at gameplay of GTA 6? And he said, I do think there's reasoning behind this. I think when the title is launched on Netflix, if you watch it, you'll understand more. And I said, what does that mean? Like, it'll feel like you're watching a Netflix show? And he said, yes, which I thought was interesting. He also said it's going to be a must-see event, and Netflix has 200 million subscribers, so undoubtedly thrilled about the number of people who could potentially be watching this thing. I think there are a few reasons this makes sense. First and foremost, I mean, look, if Netflix is writing a huge check to Take-Two and Rockstar for this, then it's only upside for them. 6 hours is not a lot of time in the grand scheme of things. It doesn't really hurt anybody to have a gameplay footage available on Netflix 6 hours in advance. You could, I mean, this is all marketing, right? It's not like we're talking about a video game being made only available to some subset of players. I think that anyone who complains that it is like consumer unfriendly or hostile or whatever, like bad practice, anti-consumer, to have a piece of marketing footage available on Netflix for 6 hours before it's on YouTube, I think pick your battles, man, if you're complaining about that one. So there's really very little downside to this. And it seems like there's a lot of upside for both of them. For one, it does feel like an event. It's going to be a whole thing. People are going to be saying, well, all right, it's 3 p.m. Now time to turn on Netflix, in the same way you might say, oh, the Super Bowl's on. Let's all put on NBC or wherever it is that year. It'll feel like watching a live event. It'll be one of those kind of rare experiences, I think, where it feels, where there's kind of, a lot of people talk about the lack of monoculture in the kind of world of entertainment these days, and how there aren't really big shows or movies that often, other than like Odyssey, where it feels like everybody is watching them and talking about them, and there's some big cultural conversation around them. I think in this case, having everybody tune into Netflix for this one big event could help create that in a way that would feel a lot more fragmented if it was just released one morning, the way that Rockstar typically does it, where it was just like, oh, here's a trailer, it's on YouTube, it's on X, it's on whatever. I think the fact that it's kind of like a Netflix event makes it feel a little bit more just kind of unifying in terms of the culture.
Very, very bloody substantial, that is. I'm not going to lie there. Pretty crazy, talking about how it's not going to be just a trailer. It's going to be something that deserves to be on Netflix. It's going to be something to watch. And I think this lines up to what I was saying. I'm pretty sure we're going to be seeing not an extended gameplay trailer or reveal, something similar to that San Andreas prologue movie, which I have linked down in the description. So, just a few short weeks ago, we experienced the Great Casino Depression of 2026, arguably an event of all time, removing Australians from the beloved pastime of having a punt. One determined punter was so perturbed by Rockstar's ban that they sent a letter questioning Rockstar's changes and putting it on the government why they'd forced Rockstar to do this. And this channel is Dead Man Down Under. I have him linked in the description. I'll have a little thing pop up for him.
I contacted Rebecca White MP's office and I explained the situation with the GTA Online casino and why Australian players are confused about the restriction. Now, my personal information has been redacted from this version I'm showing you, but this is the actual written response from her office. And as we zoom in, this first line here says, I can advise that the Australian government has made no changes to legislation that would impact this. The second paragraph here reads, the government did implement mandatory R18 plus ratings on video games with casino features in the last term of government. However, casino features were not banned. And this final one, any decision to remove the feature on GTA Online is separate to government, and I encourage you to raise your feedback with the company. That last sentence is the part that really caught my attention.
With no response officially yet by Rockstar, this will most likely lead to more speculation regarding the casino for Australians. There's also hard confirmation that this was a reactionary move from the Rockstar development team, and the Australian government themselves see no issues arising from either their recent changes to gambling laws and the ones regarding online ID verification earlier this year. As always, a huge thank you to the 23 patrons of Don's Saloon, and to you for watching. Enjoy.